Amidst global geopolitical shifts, a pressing question emerges. Why is the Russian military on the verge of collapse? Once a formidable force, the Russian military now faces challenges that threaten its historical prowess. Economic strains, technological gaps, and international isolation have raised concerns about its sustainability. What factors have led to this potential downfall? Is it the weight of maintaining an extensive global presence or internal issues that erode its foundation? In this video, we will talk about why Russian military is about to crumble. But before we start, make sure to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for regular updates. Let's get started. Yevgeny Prigozhin, the owner and commander of the Wagner paramilitary group and a former close supporter of Vladimir Putin, moved from threats to action after months of explosive outbursts against the country's senior military brass and its poorly prosecuted war against Ukraine. In these outbursts, Prigozhin criticized Russia for its poorly prosecuted war against Ukraine. Putin replied by criticizing the operation, labeling Prigozhin a traitor, and declaring that the Russian military would crush the revolt as Wagner soldiers captured the city of Rostov-on-Don, which is home to the Southern Command that has been a linchpin in the battle. Rostov-on-Don was the seat of the Southern Command and has been a pivotal point in the fight. Even if Prigozhin's planned march on Moscow was canceled, the ongoing conflict within Russia is not likely to be resolved anytime soon. Putin has been made to appear feeble and unable to make a decision. It is important to put the current unrest into a broader historical perspective. Since the 19th century, the Russian state has had a record that is astonishingly consistent when it comes to the consequences of defeat in war. The humiliation on the battlefield has translated into instability and finally the breakdown of the system within the country. A blow to Russia's power, the defeat it suffered at the hands of a coalition comprised of the United Kingdom, France, Sardinia, and the Ottoman Empire in the Crimean War, 1853 to 1856, marked a turning point for the Russian Empire. More than 100,000 Russian soldiers were killed or injured on the battlefield as a direct result of the incompetence of their military leadership, while an additional 300,000 died as a direct result of disease. In comparison, the British suffered fewer than 5,000 deaths in combat and fewer than 16,000 deaths as a result of wounds or illness, and this despite some horrific failures on the side of the Allies. As a result of Russia's defeat, the Imperial Army was decimated, the treasury was depleted, and Russia's power in Europe was severely diminished. The turmoil that followed brought about profound changes in Russia, including the end of serfdom, as well as reforms of the administration, the court, and most importantly, the military. The Russia that eventually emerged from the chaos that followed the end of the Crimean War bore little resemblance to the state in which it had entered the conflict. A similar pattern unfolded in the aftermath of Russia's defeat in the Russo-Japanese War in 1904-05, culminating in the Russian Navy's terrible defeat at the Battle of Tsushima, which provided a comparable shock to the country's political system and debilitated the imperial state. During this time, Russia's political system was unable to recover from the shock of the war. The aftermath witnessed another round of internal political fracture, which led to the 1905 revolution that nearly brought the imperial authority to its knees, drove the Tsar to implement structural reforms, and caused major domestic instability in the years that followed. In less than a decade's time, Germany's victory over Russia in the Battle of Tannenberg in 1914, combined with subsequent stalemates and defeats, was the catalyst for a chain of events that culminated in the mutiny of the Russian army, two revolutions in the span of a single year, and a bloody civil war that culminated in the Bolsheviks seizing power and installing a communist dictatorship in Russia. During the time of the Soviet Union, this pattern was repeated. The Soviet Union was ultimately victorious in Afghanistan and withdrew its forces in 1989, which was immediately followed by the dissolution of the Soviet Empire in that same year and the dissolution of the Soviet state itself just 2 years later. Convulsions occurred once again inside the nation as a direct result of the ignominious military defeat. It is difficult to avoid coming to the conclusion that one of the distinguishing characteristics of Russian systemic legitimacy is the supposed power that its military possesses. When Russia's military is shown to be hollow, weak, or inept, the imperial self-confidence of the Russian body politic seems to be shaken more than anything else. Therefore, it is imperative that the acts of Prigozhin and his Wagner mercenaries be taken seriously. Prigozhin's scathing criticism of the ineptitude and corruption of the military leadership will, regardless of the resolution to the current crisis, undoubtedly strike a chord with certain sectors of the general public, making it likely that this criticism will be taken seriously. It is too early to determine if Prigozhin's raid into Russia was an isolated incident that will be followed by even harsher repression by the regime, or whether it will put into motion forces that have the capacity to reshape the country. It's possible that the harm done to Putin's regime by the fallout of Russia's defeat on the battlefield of Ukraine is already beyond repair. However, if Putin is successful in regaining control, he may use Prigozhin's failed coup attempt to solidify his position and turn to full national mobilization, therefore laying the groundwork for a new phase of Russia's battle to recapture its lost empire. It is more likely that Russia will face an escalation of the crisis as well as an extended period of turmoil. Although it is difficult to forecast outcomes, the history of Russia can shed light on processes and patterns that tend to be repeated. The history of Russian imperialism has demonstrated, at the very least, that the authoritarian political structure of the country does not have a mechanism to manage and diffuse pressures at home, and that it performs poorly when faced with a failed foreign policy effort or military loss. When evaluating Putin's hold on power and what the current crisis may ultimately mean for the Russian Federation, it would be well to keep this in mind. The challenges facing the Russian military are mounting, raising concerns about its stability and efficacy. Geopolitical pressures, internal dissent, and technological lag are crucial factors. Will Russia find innovative solutions and reforms to prevent the potential collapse of its once mighty military apparatus? Only time will reveal the answer. Share your thoughts in the comments below. That's it for today. Please like and share our videos. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for regular updates.